Hear the excitement at the Old South Meeting House. There was a revolution of brewing as they argued about a small tax on tea.
These duties are an infringement of our natural and constitutional rights.
The Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum wants folks to see and hear how the revolution unfolded. In fact, the patrons are asked to lend their voices. Feet stomp, canes tap, and huzzahs are shouted in support of speakers who would break away from good King George. The passionate shouts bring history to life. It's magical to think that 5,000 men here staked their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred trusts.
These meetings were the most inclusive ever to take place. They included people who normally wouldn't be at a regular town meeting, people who weren't voters. You normally had to be over 21, white male owning property to come to a meeting. That wasn't the case at these meetings, although women still weren't there.
Women were not allowed inside the meeting. They were part of the noisy throng which gathered outside.
We need to pay our fair share, is what it comes down
You've
to.
never even seen the king. You've never even seen a member of parliament. Why?
Well, I've seen the Sons of Liberty, and I know what they stand for, and I'll not have it.
I'd rather be ruled by a king than a mob. You never know what the mob wants from you.
The women were as divided as the men.
They talk of protection, but these redcoat soldiers have done nothing for us but be brutes. I mean, you heard what happened 3 years ago.
I did.
On March the 5th, 1770. 5 of our own were lost here on King Street.
Absolutely.
We can't be treated as second-class English citizens just because we're in a different location.
The man in the red coat has been biding his time. Samuel Adams is a leader of the Sons of Liberty. And finally, he rises to speak.
This meeting can do nothing more to save the country.
With that, some men scramble for the exits. Tea Party Museum Director Sean Ford tells us why.
And he yelled, "This meeting can do no more to save the country. The time for action has arrived." And someone in the background yelled, "Boston Harbor, a teapot tonight." Well, that line by Sam Adams was the signal to let the other patriots know that they had to go down to Griffin's Wharf and destroy the tea. That was the code.
241 years later, patriots are more brazen than our fathers and foremothers.
Rebel scoundrels, take it home!
Behind fife and drum, our mob of 1,000 marches to the waterfront and takes up seats in bleachers to watch the action.
They'll be in your homes next!
Soon the Sons of Liberty, some dressed as Mohawks, storm a replica British ship and have their tea American style. While the Sons of Liberty intended to keep their participation in the Boston Tea Party a secret, some names have come down to us. A Mainer named Benjamin Burton was on board and watched the tea chest on the hoist. It drops on the head of a man named John Crane.
I was the only man injured during this event. I was below deck in the hold of the ship, the Dartmouth, trying to hoist up these heavy crates of tea. Some of them are weighing upwards of 360 pounds. One of these chests slipped, hit me on the head, knocked me unconscious.
The Liberty boys thought Crane was dead and carried him to a carpenter shop across the street, leaving him in the shavings. However, John Crane rose to fight in the Revolution, become a general, and after the war took a land grant in down East Maine. He lived out his life in Whiting and was buried there in 1805.
Boston Harbor, a teapot tonight!
Paul Revere would also fight in Maine as part of the Penobscot expedition. He was not well known in 1773, but certainly was at the meeting, if not at the Tea Party itself.
I can't positively tell you whether Paul Revere was on board ship or not because the names were secret, but most certainly he had ties to organizations with ship captains and sailors, part of being a silversmith in all of the political organizations in Boston. So he most definitely knew his way around the ships. He knew the men working there.
Well done, lads!
The Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum is a new attraction designed to teach the importance of December 16, 1773 by giving people a first-hand experience with the sights and sounds of revolution.
I'm